Let's take a look at the auction results from across the country over the weekend and look at, despite suggestions that things are, cooling off, most of what went up for sale was actually sold. Start with Sydney. 299 homes went for auction here with a clearance rate of 90%. There were also 1,435 private sales across New South Wales last week. Melbourne had the most auctions, 526. The clearance rate, you can see, 85%. There was another 1,392 private sales for the week. Brisbane had just 27 auctions, a clearance rate 96%, most sold. 1,322 private sales for the week in Queensland. Adelaide had 56 auctions, a clearance rate here 95%, and another 400 private sales in South Australia. Lastly, Canberra had 67 auctions, a clearance rate 84%, and a further 66 private sales. We're going to bring in here REA Group's senior economist, Eleanor Creagh. I spoke to her earlier on today.
So we're seeing that, homeowners are certainly taking advantage of that strong buyer demand and, of course, the recent price growth that we've seen. And listings are seasonally strong at the moment. Certainly, we saw auction volumes almost 3,000 in the last week. And that's actually more than double this same week seen last year. So certainly a strong level of properties still coming to sale, coming to market. And certainly, we're not seeing that buyer demand is abating as yet. We are seeing that sales volumes are still very much tracking 2021's historic levels. So to date this year, sales volumes are actually just 1% lower than the volumes that we saw in 2021. But actually, when we look at February and we compare it to February last year, sales volumes were actually 5% higher. So certainly a still strong level of buyer demand out there, and homeowners or vendors are taking advantage of that with an increased confidence to list at the moment.
There's one other aspect of this, and that is if buyers are able to get into the market as they are, and they've got a willingness right now, it means also that lenders have got a willingness to give them money, that they're not seeing an increased risk right now, even though maybe prices are at their peaks or maybe the interest rates are going up. Everything that the bank chief executives have told us here on this program is that they're still comfortable. And clearly that is demonstrated by the fact that they're still prepared to lend money to these people fronting up to buy the properties each weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we are seeing that new lending continues to rise, and it's particularly evident actually when we look at the investor subsector of the market. So new lending to investors hit a 33% share according to the ABS data released last week, and that's up off actually only a 23% share at the same time last year. And certainly we're seeing across our platform, inquiry from investors is sitting at the highest level in around 5 years. So certainly, still a lot of activity out there in the market. There are some measures of buyer demand that are coming off, but it's a bit more of a bifurcated picture, actually. So whereas I think last year was all about that broad house price growth Australia-wide, we are starting to see that, I guess, activity levels are slowing more evidently in Sydney and Melbourne. But when we look at other capitals, particularly like Brisbane and Adelaide, and just Queensland and South Australia overall, actually, we are seeing that, I guess, the continued strength in price growth momentum and, of course, a constrained level of available properties for sale in those markets is still creating quite a lot of competition. Sales volumes are actually tracking well above this time last year in those markets. And actually, auction clearance rates are holding up more in Brisbane and Adelaide as well.